Can I swear?
Please do. No, Miles. Please do. Did you dream baby? Yes. What do you want? All right. This is just so if I want a second one, I don't want to have to get up.
There you go. He says, "Oh, that second one must be for me."
I'm just sitting down, Miles. I'm not even doing anything. Check 1 2. Check.
Miles will add flavor as he walks around. He'll settle down in a minute, in a while.
Oh yeah, I'm not even worried about it. It's actually kind of cute because we're already recording, so this is all on video.
Oh,
This is good.
all right. Very good.
Poor
And we'll
Miles.
just cut this out, right?
No, this is the best part,
Yeah,
man.
you dog.
So yeah, the inspiration of it was I named it For Our Loved Ones podcast.
All right.
I'm not going to go into the backstory because I've already repeated this so many times in the first couple episodes. But it was just a way to document, to interview people, talk about their upbringing, their family, their friends, people that meant something to them, hear about how they grew up, where they grew up, life experiences they've had, and then it's documented. So, I mean, before we leave, I'm going to give you a copy. I can just put it on a hard drive and then I'll transfer it to your laptop or something.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be
Okay.
able to watch it after
Great.
we're done. And again, I'm not publishing this yet.
Right.
I want you to be able to watch it. And if there's anything you know, because you're probably going to go off on a rant.
Me? Never.
Yes. So I want to make sure you can watch it and make sure you're happy with it. But yeah, it's because of technology. It's like, you know, anytime before this in the 19th century or before the 20th century, before we had this kind of stuff, if you wanted to document or tell stories, it's just written form, you know,
Right.
whether it was a typewriter or whether it was handwriting something down. But I feel like it's so much more valuable. With audio, you hear the person telling the story. You can hear their voice, hear their inflection. You get the emotion of their voice. You also can see them. You know, it's not HD, but you can still see them. So it also helps with the trying to get the feeling of the story across better.
Sure.
Yeah, but the point is, when we're gone, our kids and their kids and so on, all these generations, instead of just hearing about, oh, Grandpa Craig did this and Grandpa Craig owned a printing shop, and they can hear you even long after you're gone. They'll be able to hear you talk about it.
Right. It's a great idea. I tried to get my dad to write down his life story.
Oh, my
He
God.
just wouldn't do it. He just
Okay.
would not do it.
So the part I left out was my mom originally had mentioned this when in the 90s, when her mom passed. She was like, I wish I would have been able to just get a little handheld audio recorder and just interview her several sessions and have her tell her story so
Right.
that it's documented. Yeah. So that's where I got the idea. And then, of course, you know, my mom passed last year, and then that's kind of what lit a fire under me. I'm like, damn, let's get this done. Because
So you're expecting me to die fairly soon. Is that what you're saying?
Stop it. I meant for any of us.
I got it.
It's
Yeah.
become a tradition, even though this is only the 5th episode. It is a tradition, though, that we have to give shout outs to Tom Brady, No Shoes Nation, and Joe Rogan.
Good Lord.
And the only reason
Cut.
he's going to want to edit that out. The only reason it's become a thing is because I've done several episodes with my daughter, and I will try to shoehorn those shout outs in. She edits them out. She won't let them be.
Of course she does, because she's a good person.
No. But when her and Alex recorded an episode with me like a week ago, I made her. I was like, Kristen, it's my podcast. You have to say it. And she was like, Tom Brady rules. And then she whispered, she was like, I don't really care.
I will never say that. He's from Michigan. That's sacrilege.
No, he's actually from the Bay Area, but he went to college at Michigan. So,
Right.
Which makes him just as evil. Just
Makes him the arch enemy.
The fact that he's
Yeah.
a Wolverine.
He's the devil.
This is something we can agree on because we both get just as passionate about our college football.
Oh, yeah, you
or
bet.
college sports in general. So, yes, we don't have to get into specific dates. I know you're about my age, right? Born in 1970-something.
59.
There you go. I was thinking it was 60. I thought I was 12
59.
years younger. Okay. But yeah, so let's start with the origin story just a little bit. And remember whatever you want to talk about, you can. If you don't want to talk about something, you don't have to. So
All right.
no pressure. This is just a conversation between two people that know each other.
Fair enough.
So what city were you born in?
Born in Toledo, Ohio.
And is that okay? So I know enough about you that you didn't live there your whole life, but from birth all through high school, stayed in
Yeah,
Toledo.
all through high school. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have siblings.
Yes, I'm the youngest of 4. 2 brothers, 1 sister.
Okay.
My oldest brother's 10 years older than me. Then I have a brother 7 years older. And then my sister was about 18 months older than me.
She passed?
Yeah, she
That's
passed,
right.
yeah.
We've talked about that.
Right.
Okay. So 2 brothers and a sister. Parents are not still alive?
No, they both passed.
Okay. And are they from the Ohio area?
My dad is from Maumee, which is a suburb of Toledo.
Okay.
So he was born and raised there. And
Born and raised, so in the area.
yeah,
And then your mom?
my mom lived in a kind of south central Ohio,
Okay.
small little hillbilly town. They were far enough south. They actually had a little southern twang in their voice.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah. Her dad was a principal in a high school there.
Okay.
So she grew up like, no electricity, no running water,
Okay.
all that kind of fun stuff.
How'd they meet?
They met at University of Miami of Ohio.
Oh, they both went there.
Yeah, both went there.
And your dad went for
Business.
business, and your
Right.
mom.
Went there to get married.
Is that a real thing?
Back in those days.
I mean, no,
Yes.
I mean, but you weren't being facetious because you're right. Back in those
No,
days,
that's absolutely right. Yeah.
did she? What was she just taking like a liberal arts core
She got a
curriculum?
sociology degree.
Oh, she did get a degree. Okay, good,
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Did she do anything with that, and as far as
No.
career wise?
She worked 2 weeks after she graduated, cried every day, and then quit. Never worked again.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So,
But your dad obviously was doing well enough.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in those days, you pretty much were a single income family anyway.
Yeah, you could actually you could afford to be back then.
Right.
Jeez. Okay.
Right.
Miami, Ohio. How far
Right.
from Toledo is that?
It's about 2 hours, maybe.
Okay, and then they ended up at some point in Toledo because that's where you were born.
Right.
Were your older siblings also born in Toledo?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So your dad must have found his career in Toledo.
He started out in Toledo. Well, actually, he worked for a little while in Columbus. No, I'm sorry, Cleveland, as a university professor.
Oh, okay.
But he wanted to get into business and came
Was
back.
was he teaching business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he wanted to do business in, and Toledo was where he had all his contacts. His father,
Okay.
had, I think, spent his whole life
Oh.
in Toledo as well.
So what was he employed by a company or did he start his own thing?
No, he worked for a couple different companies, and then he tried to buy a secretarial chair and stool company.
Like the manufacturing company.
Yeah, manufacturing company. He was in manufacturing management. And at the same time, there was this fairly small conglomerate that was trying to buy it at the same time.
Okay.
So they kind of worked out a deal where my dad would be the, well, he never talked about his position, but it was a COO, Chief Operating Officer,
Okay.
for them. And then he would work his way into the conglomerate, the other businesses as
Oh.
well.
So there would be opportunities at some of the other businesses that they owned.
Right.
And is that kind of how it actually played out? That he
Yeah, he ended up being the CEO or the COO of, I don't know, I think they had 5 or 6 different little companies, nothing real big.
And were they the companies were diverse or were they all related? Like
Yeah,
in
no.
all in manufacturing or
Their biggest product, they made the Lacoste knit sport shirts, the alligator.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And they made for Wilson and Adidas and JCPenney's.
Oh, they would produce products for other companies that would put their label on it.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
So that was their biggest deal. They also had a small recording company, music recording company. That's gonna look
He's
good.
horny. Why are you trying to hump my foot? No, I'm not going to let you do it.
It's my dog.
Oh my God, Miles! Remember when I used to chase you around the campground when you were a puppy? So did he end up? That was his full career. He retired from it, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But and we have talked briefly about because some of this I'm remembering. You've told me about what your dad's job was. Is this kind of what led you down the path? Because then you ended up becoming an economics major.
Right.
Is this kind of what planted the business seed? And then you went on to own your own business. Was it your dad's influence?
Certainly. So when I was, I think around 12, my dad is kind of a tax dodge. Started a small little welding company.
As like a tax, would they call it a tax shelter? Is that what
Well,
you
it
mean?
was a tax shelter because the 4 siblings were the owners
Okay.
of the company. So, and of course, all of us had, low tax brackets compared to
The 4 you mean his
father.
kids?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about you and your brother and sister, brothers
Yeah,
and sisters.
we all essentially owned it. I mean, it was just paper.
Were
We
you
didn't do
adults when he did this?
anything. No, I was 12.
And you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a tax dodge because, the first whatever is zero tax. And
Right.
Then, the next, and he was up in a higher bracket. So
Okay.
it was a very clever way to.
So it's completely legal, just creative.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I just want to get that on air.
Right. So in order to do that, you had to have a corporate executive meeting. But it was, we were kids,
At
right?
the dinner table.
So my dad was there, and we bullshitted and signed papers, and that was, that covered the. So that
Since it's a corporation, there has to be a board. Is that what they call it?
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so we would receive the profits from the companies, and then my dad would use that money to pay like our tuition because we went to a private school
Oh, well,
and that
okay.
sort of thing. So
That makes total sense, actually.
Right.
That's a creative way to pay for. You you and your siblings all went to private school?
yeah,
Was it a religious private school?
Nope.
Just a good school.
yeah.
I'm assuming the public schools in Toledo were just not that good, or did he just want to give you the best?
Probably back when I was going there, they were fairly decent, but this school is like in the top 4 or 5 in the state.
So he was just trying to, I'm assuming, just give his kids
the
every
best
advantage.
education.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so he was paying for the school through the money that we gained that, he
don't
got
have
to
your
keep
ball.
more of it. So
I don't have anything. Sorry. I think, isn't he looking for a toy? I think
he's
that's what
just
he's doing.
Being annoying because it's like someone's here.
And was the private school like 1st through 12th? All
Kindergarten through 12, yeah.
What was the name of the school?
Maumee Valley Country Day School.
Maumee Valley?
Yeah, Maumee.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay,
lived in the
different
Maumee Valley
Oh, okay.
of the Maumee River. Toledo used to be a swamp.
Oh, geez.
And so that was the Maumee River, Indian name because there are Indian tribes there.
Okay.
And that's how they got the name. So,
Was it well, now that you actually you're working in the public school system now,
Right.
and things are probably different, but was the curriculum, I'm sure it was, but also just the setup of going to that high school, was it vastly different than public schools? Like when you got into high school, did you still have like 6 or 7 different classes in different classrooms that you went to, and did
Yeah.
you have a locker in the hall, that kind of a thing?
Yep. We still
Okay.
stuffed freshmen in lockers and
Oh, okay.
all that
So it
good
was very
stuff.
similar. It's just that the curriculum was probably a little bit better crafted.
The curriculum was college prep only.
Okay.
You
got
had
it.
no choice,
Okay.
which I kind of like. My kids went there too, same school.
Oh,
My kids
that's actually, I didn't know
went
that.
kindergarten through 12, same school. Yeah.
That is so cool.
So
What was the, when Kristen and,
Lee.
God, we're going to edit that out. I'm sorry, Lee. I forgot your name.
Lee,
Oh my God. Kristen and Lee. I only remember Kristen because my daughter's the same name.
there you go.
But they went there when you had the printing company, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
So what
Right.
was the tuition when Kristen and Lee went there? I'm just curious.
It started out at $16,000 a year and went to 20 by the time they graduated.
God, that's more than my college tuition. I went to college in 90 through 94. I think my tuition for a term was like $800, and then
Wow.
that doesn't count like room and board, dorm, but
Right.
just the actual tuition was $800 or $900 a term in 1990.
Yeah. Right.
Jesus, and that school was obviously a lot more.
Yeah. Well, my wife had a good job. She was a manager with Penny's, and
Oh, she was.
yeah, and I worked.
Okay.
Yeah, J.C. Penney's, and I worked. I was management, and then owned my
Okay.
own small company. It was just, it was tight. We were scrimping and saving money, and
So at how old did you get the printing company after the kids were born? I'm assuming
yeah,
because you bought it from the guy that ran it before. I thought.
Right.
Okay.
right. My kids were 5 and 7.
Okay. This would
When I
be.
bought
I'm trying to do the math. What year would that be? Is that's the 80s?
No, that's
That's the 90s. Yeah, because Kristen is
90. Like 98, I think.
Yeah, because is Kristen almost the same age as? Is she 30 yet?
She's 29.
So she's 2 years younger than my daughter. Okay, so she was born in '94.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And you bought the printing company in '98 or '99,
Somewhere in
something
there,
like
yeah.
that. Okay.
yeah, I can't remember the exact year.
And what were you doing before that?
I was manufacturing management.
Like your dad,
Yeah.
went
Right.
to get an economics degree, and then came out of it and kind of went into the same field of work as your dad did.
Right.
Was he a bit of a mentor in that? Like when you actually got that job, were you able to go to him and say, "Hey, Dad, this is what's going on. I need some guidance or whatever"?
Yeah. So, well, the other things my dad did with us when we were young that led me down this path. So, this company that my dad started, that the money came to us, and then we paid, our school bills from.
Right.
There was also some extra money left over,
Okay.
like $5,000 or something like that.
That's a lot back then, though.
Yeah, and so my dad, I was the only sibling that had any interest in it, but my dad had us invest that in the stock market.
When
Yeah.
you were how old? I mean, high
was
school
12.
age?
Yeah.
Still at 12.
Yeah,
That-
12,
that's
13, somewhere in
amazing.
there. So he got, he had this system of how to analyze all these different stocks and what to look at, and you compare it to other stocks. Just a real detailed, analytical,
And he-
quantitative analysis type thing.
He taught you how to
that
do
he
it?
taught me, and I did the research to decide which stocks I was going to buy.
So
based on
he
that.
taught you how to do it, but then he let you choose?
Right.
At 12 years old.
At 12 years old.
This explains so much about who you are. Oh my effing God.
And I just ate that up. I just absolutely ate it up. I love doing it.
So it was is that almost where you kind of realized I want to do something like this with my life? And is that where you started thinking about what I'm going to do in college or?
Yeah. I worked a summer at one of his at that chair company that he
Yeah.
got his start in his career. So I worked a summer there, and I was manufacturing management, and I just when I was a freshman at college, it's like, gee, what do you want to be? It's like, I don't know, I guess business, because it's my dad had planted those seeds subtly.
That is so cool. So, but he actually let you invest some of that money from the business he'd put in you and your sibling's name.
Right.
Did that? I mean, so were your choices wise? Did you actually did they grow your investment?
Yeah. So his strategy was a buy and hold type thing. So it wasn't like we were bouncing around from stock to stock.
No.
and
Was
doing
he
all that kind of
looking
stuff.
more like stable, long-term investments?
Right.
Okay.
With, a healthy growth and that sort of thing.
Yes.
When I bought my first house, I cashed those stocks in, and I had 20,000. So I went.
So that
from
was your
5 to
down
20.
payment.
Yeah, that was my down payment on
Okay.
my house. So it went from-
And were you already married to the kid's mom at that
Yeah.
point when you
Yeah.
bought your first house?
Yep.
What year was that?
Oh, jeez.
I'm assuming 80s sometime in the late 80s or something, or
It's probably right around 90. I don't remember
Okay.
for sure.
so just a few years before, because Lee is how much older than Kristen?
2 years.
So
he's
he's the same age as my daughter. That's right. Okay.
right.
Just for posterity purposes and to annoy all the people that might eventually listen to this friggin' podcast, and the battle to try to buy a fucking house nowadays. How much did you pay for your first house? I'm just curious.
86,000, I think.
Yeah, just Listen, people, $86,000 in 1990 for a house. Was it like a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or?
It was a two bedroom, 1 bath,
Okay.
but it was a nice. I mean, it was.
Yeah,
it was
$86,000.
ready to move in.
And
I didn't have to think to it.
if you put 20,000 down, was your payment like $300 or $400 a month?
Well, interest rates were 10.75%.
In 1990 they were?
My mortgage was 10.75% when I started.
So I was a senior in high school. Was that normal, or was there an issue with the interest rates at that time?
Well, Jimmy Carter, when he was president,
Right.
the shit hit the fan, and interest rates were like 15%. Just absurd.
Why? What happened? What did he?
I don't know all the ins and I can't
my
remember all the
God.
ins and outs of it. Everybody blamed Jimmy Carter. I think a lot of it had to do with whoever was before him.
Well,
I can't
before him would have
remember.
been the guy that replaced Tricky Dick.
John-
Ford.
Lyndon-
Ford was before him.
Ford, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never really researched why it was that way. I just know it's Miles.
No miles.
Come here.
That's it. But maybe because the value of the property was so much lower, is that why interest rates were just naturally higher? Is that kind of what was going on?
No, it has more to do with the overall economy as a whole. I mean, you had
Okay.
double-digit inflation, you had double-digit unemployment. It was a really deep recession.
And I'm not picking sides here, but you bought that house in 1990.
Right.
That was just 2 years after 8 years of Reagan. So I mean, but somehow.
So it was working its way down.
Oh, okay, really?
Interest rates
It was so it was coming down from the Carter time.
Right.
Oh man.
Right.
Okay.
So-
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I
that's insane.
refinanced like several times.
As soon as
it
you
came
could.
down.
Every time
Yeah.
it would go down enough to make it
Couple
worth it.
points, yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, I think 800, 900. I can't remember what my.
Because the interest
Monthly
rate
payment.
was so high.
Right.
Yeah. That's still going to make everybody today jealous that your payment was that low. But
Well, and Toledo's so much cheaper, the housing market, than here.
and even still, I think it is.
Still is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the population of Toledo?
It's about 320,000.
Oh, geez. So it's because I think Portland is like 650. So
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's a little more than half the size. It's not a town. It's a big city.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is a Toledo University is there.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Jeez. All right. Let's go back to you got into the college. We can't
Yeah.
skip college.
Can't
Oh
skip
my
college.
God. And I think you told me, but I don't remember what college you go to.
Union College,
Where at?
Schenectady, New York.
Oh, that's right. Because you've told me stories about when you took that trip to visit some possible colleges. You did make it to Boston, I
Right.
think. Which
And got-
one? Which one were you considering in
I
Boston?
think it was Boston College,
Okay.
and I never found it. I
That's
got
right.
So lost in Boston.
We've talked about it because I told you the same thing after me and Pam went to Boston. It's like it's a nightmare trying to drive there. The
Yeah.
streets make no sense.
Yeah. I was 17 too. It's like my dad, said, "Hey, you got to do all these college trips." So I picked my colleges,
But he just
Packed-
let you
packed
just
my bag, and now
you just drove to
See you
and
bye.
kind of planned it like over a week, and you said, "I'm going to hit all these colleges in this
Right.
order."
Right.
What were the other ones on your list besides BC?
Bucknell, Lehigh, Lafayette, and Union College were the ones I hit.
So and Union is in Schenectady, New
Schenectady.
York.
Yep.
Is what other town that I would know of in New York?
Albany.
Is,
It's real close to Albany.
Oh, so it's in Western New York,
No, it's
Or is
East
Albany-
Central. East Central.
East Central. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 2.5 hours from New York City.
Okay. And it's like how big is that town? Schenectady.
Schenectady was the home of GE.
Oh.
And that was about it. So I would say maybe half the size of Toledo.
Okay.
150,000.
So 4 years at that college?
Yeah, 4 years there.
Were you living in an apartment or the dorms or?
I was a frat boy, so I joined a fraternity.
Oh, nice. Well, which frat?
Delta Phi.
Okay.
So
Which
Union College is the oldest non-denominational college in the country.
Non-denominational.
No, not affiliated with any religion at all. So it was the
Well, but
first university set up that didn't have a religious affiliation.
I mean, because nowadays there's tons of public universities that aren't. But you're
Right.
saying when that place was founded,
It was the very first.
every other university in America at that time was religiously affiliated.
Right.
So when was it founded in the 1800s
No, it was
or way before that?
I couldn't really tell you. I don't know. I would think the end of the 1700s. Chet Arthur, the president of the United States, whatever his reign was, he went to Union College.
That's insane. So that's a little fun fact of history. I didn't know that
Yeah.
that back in the day, every university or college that was founded was I guess supported or started by some religion.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Even Harvard? Or maybe Harvard was after that then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
I don't
that's
know all the
crazy.
details, but I just. knew that
But
about
Union College has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So my fraternity was part of the first, one of three of the first fraternities ever founded in the country.
really?
Yeah, Delta Phi was one of three. I don't know where it was in the order, but the first three fraternities were founded at Union College.
All three of them were founded at
Yep.
Union College?
Yep.
So because I'm assuming a religious college would never let that happen? They wouldn't let you have frats?
Yeah, because of the devil worshipping pagan rituals we have.
Oh my gosh, that is freaking hilarious! I had no idea. I didn't know the history of fraternities like that, and that they had to be founded at a college that was not kind of controlled by a religion, I guess,
Right.
or influenced by a religion.
Right.
Wow. So freshman year,
Yeah.
were you immediately said I'm doing economics, or did you kind of take your freshman year and decide what your major was?
I started out as an economics major. I wasn't like totally set on it, but once I started taking some classes, I was pretty hooked on it. It was
Okay.
what I liked.
That's it's a joke. It's not my punchline, but economics 101, because I had to take it in my freshman year of college. It's part of the core curriculum.
Yep.
But I made the mistake of taking that at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I'm like, there is no way that I can learn anything about economics through one bloodshot eye. And I'm like, why the? So after I flunked the second test, I'm like, I grabbed the instructor by the throat and I was like, why the hell are you teaching this shit at this ungodly hour? Are you trying to keep it a secret? Sorry, I'm getting you amped up. And that's not my joke. That's Lewis Black. But it made so much sense because I remember going to that class at 8 a.m. and I'm like, I don't know what the instructor's talking about. I'm barely awake.
Right.
Because I've always been or never been a morning person, but
It seemed to be a line of
No.
study. You either got it or you didn't.
there's no in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, you either get it and appreciate it and are intrigued,
Right.
or it just bores the fuck
Depending
out
on
of
how
you.
your brain works. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So it can be a struggle or it can be.
4 years of that, and
Right.
then did you do any post grad work or just went into the workforce?
I worked for 2 years and then I went back and got an MBA.
Oh, you did. I
Yeah.
think you've told me that, and
Yeah.
from the same place or
No.
from.
So when I graduated from school, college, I went back home and I spent the summer trying to figure out where I wanted to move to because I knew I wasn't going to stay in Ohio. Or I thought I wasn't going to stay in Ohio.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So I had like 5 or 6 cities that I was interested in moving to. And I did really a pretty detailed analysis of each city, what the manufacturing base was like.
I guarantee you did. You're
who I-
so analytical.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
the people I knew there, the attractions that I liked, all those different kinds of things. And I couldn't decide on a city. It was like, I like them all.
Did you throw a dart on a map?
Well, pretty close.
Oh shit.
What my dad did, because he was tired of me being home, he's like, I got to get this kid out of my fucking house. He put down a map of the United States on the table, gave me a pencil. I closed my eyes. He spun the map, and I put the pencil down. And the closest I came to whatever one of those cities was where I was going to go.
Okay, so
And I was about a half inch from Denver. So
that's actually really close on a
yeah,
map.
yeah, on the map.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So 2 weeks later, I packed up my life belongings and
Drove out there?
drove out there. I had friends of my best friend in high school who were still going to school at University of Denver, so I could live with them for a while. till I
And
could get
is
on
that
my
where
feet.
you ended up going to school at?
Yeah, I ended up going to University of Denver. Yeah.
Okay, and got your MBA in economics?
Just general business.
Oh, is that what MBA means?
Master's in Business Administration.
Okay, so it's not it's not focus on economics. It's just business.
Right. Economics is like how large, like the United States economy functions, how it works,
Right.
what makes it, do what it does, that sort of thing. Business degree is about individual companies and running.
Okay, and
Those
that
types
was
of
that was a
companies.
2-year program.
It was a 2-year program. I did it in a year and a half. 'Cause I wanted to get
Nice.
done.
You want to get it done, and then now is this where you met the kid's mom at when you were in Denver?
Yeah, when I was in Denver, right.
Was she at the same school, or you just met her randomly?
I met her at a bar. I tried to pick her up. And she wouldn't go home with me, so I had to get her phone number and like set up a real date.
That's
And
how I
one
met
thing led to
Pam. We met in
another.
a bar.
So yeah, it was
But
kind of in my bar slut stage where I was trying to pick up women.
You're still in your bar slut stage.
No, I'm not. I'm in my bar stage, but I just removed the slut.
Now
part.
you're in your tap room and bottle shop phase now.
There you
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So obviously you met her, and then you stayed in Denver for how long?
6 years.
And then ended up going back to Toledo.
Right.
What led to that move?
So my dad had bought a logging. My parents separated when the year I graduated from college. They divorced, and after a while, my dad moved to Colorado,
Oh,
and he lived in Pagosa Springs, Colorado.
okay.
And he bought a small logging sawmill operation there.
Wow.
Um,
So he had done pretty well through his career, obviously, if he could just buy a business.
yeah, I mean, he's not Bill Gates.
No, but you would
But he
say
did okay.
upper middle class, maybe something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, upper middle class.
Okay.
And it was a small deal. It wasn't it's not like the logging operation.
It's not
here.
like Weyerhaeuser or something like
Yeah,
that. Okay.
Right. So when I graduated from school, I went to work for him with the idea that eventually, he was 62, 63. He wasn't going to work too much longer. I would take over running the company.
So let's pause on this and then continue. What's so interesting, especially when you're talking about how your dad went through so many businesses, sounds like you went through some. Once you have the knowledge of how to run a business, it seems like you don't necessarily have to you don't have to be an expert in every aspect of the product or the service the business is providing. It's more about these basic business management skills can be applied to almost anything.
Right.
Is that kind of because
Right.
you know nothing about logging,
Right. Didn't
and
know
your
a damn
dad
thing.
probably didn't.
Didn't even know how to run a chainsaw.
Right, but
Right.
he can come in from a business management level and try to make the business more profitable. Is that kind of the goal?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You're managing the business as a whole, and your employees have that expertise to.
So you have supervisors and down level managers below you that actually know how to run the day-to-day stuff.
Right.
And you're just so as in the position that your dad was in, he's more trying to just is he involved in trying to drum up more business or just streamline the company and increase profits?
Pretty much everything.
Okay.
On a company that small, you pretty much do all those things. Sales, marketing, manufacturing efficiency, quality control, product, new product development, new ideas for, growing the company.
That just kind of blows my mind though, because I'm trying to picture he had no previous experience in that industry.
Right.
And he's coming from Ohio to Colorado,
Right.
logging company.
Right.
If I had to go to the first day I owned it and I had to address my employees, I wouldn't have the first clue where to start. Like, I don't even know how you do what you do. How do you schedule the truck drivers? How do we even get permission to cut trees down? What mills do we take them to?
Right.
I'd have no clue.
Well, you rely on your people to do that.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I've worked in probably 4 or 5 different industries. I had no clue how
but
to
there
run
are certain business principles that apply to all of them. Is that kind of what it is?
them. Right. People management.
Well, you're dealing with a bunch of loggers. That must be a challenge.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my gosh. I love the loggers. I'm not saying anything, but I've done plenty of time in construction jobs. I mean, truck driving. I worked for a paving company, so I understand the construction industry.
Right.
And they're not the most refined people. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
So it is impressive that your dad or even you could come in from and even be able to make a difference, you know. But again, like we said, there's these basic principles. Okay, so your dad moves out, buys this logging company, and you said you worked for him for a little while with maybe the intent of taking it over from him.
Right. Yeah, that was the idea.
And that was after you got your MBA.
Yeah, right after I got my MBA, I went to work for him.
And what was your position there?
So he had a sawmill down in Pagosa, and they were starting a sawmill up near Glenwood Springs.
Okay.
Which is 3 hours from Denver on 70.
Sorry to pause, but I can see the volume level because of the lights. So there was a pause when you were talking, and it was picking up Miles whining. Anyway, so they were going to buy a second sawmill.
So they were starting the second sawmill up, and so I was going to manage that.
Okay.
But
by that time, you'd had some experience at the first sawmill.
No.
Oh no, that was your entry
totally
level
cold
job.
Yeah.
Was that intimidating?
I was pretty bad at it. Yeah. So you have to rely on your people.
Yeah.
Who have the skills to do what we were doing.
Yeah.
And, I was still pretty young and naive and green, at doing this. So,
right.
Yeah, just the guy that I had was terrible. He was just.
He was supposed to be the guy that was going to guide you along because he'd been there.
Right.
But he wasn't very helpful?
No, he wasn't very helpful.
Okay.
So
is it possible that he just resented you and your dad coming in and buying this company? And
no, I just think it's his attitude. Some
Okay.
people are just like that. They're just cantankerous by nature, and
Yeah.
if they can get away with crap, they do.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was going to say, you're not the kind that would try to get away with crap, but you are cantankerous.
I am cantankerous. Yes, I am.
So that lasted how long?
So I did that for 2 years.
That must have been a rough 2 years, man.
Yeah, it was.
Or do you look back on it as a good learning experience?
No, I look at it as a nightmare.
So nothing redeeming
Absolutely.
came from
No.
that. I'm sorry.
No, I thought, oh, this will be great. I'm outside all the time in the mountains in Colorado. This will be.
It is
cool as
beautiful
hell.
scenery.
Yeah, except 80% of the time, the weather is just foul. It's either too hot, too cold, too snowy, too this, too that.
I kind of thought that Colorado was more like Bend, where it's mostly blue sky. It might snow, but then it clears up and it's sunshine. It might be 25 degrees, but it's blue sky. And then in the summer, it's like 80 or 90, and it's blue sky.
We had, because we were up at altitude, it's kind of like Bend except colder because you're up at altitude.
Right.
And we had days at minus 15 degrees. We were trying to run the sawmill.
Oh
And it was
my
outside.
God.
We were outside.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it sucked. It was just terrible.
That is really cold.
And in the summer, you had no shelter from the sun, and being up high again,
Yeah.
the sun just cooks you alive.
Jesus.
So it was a bitch. It was a tough job all the way around.
So
So-
2 years at that, and then at some point, do you just decide I got to do something different?
Well, no, fate kind of decided that we were going to do something different.
Okay.
So we made logs for log homes.
Mhm.
It was a great product. We cut the dead standing timber out of the national forest,
Okay.
so it's bone dry,
Right.
and then we'd make them into logs for log cabins. Double tongue and groove. They'd stack together,
Right.
like Lincoln logs.
And I'm
basically.
assuming, yeah, I've seen them. I'm assuming since they're dead dry, do you have to treat the wood somehow?
No, you cut it and it's good. It doesn't warp because it's not wet. It's not green.
So even if you build a house with it and then the house is in a rainstorm, you know what I mean? Is it going to
Yes.
flex?
Nope.
It's
Nope.
good to go. You don't have
Yeah.
to put a sealant on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
So 80% of our business was in Texas.
Okay.
And about a year and a half into it, the bottom fell out of the oil industry. They had a huge recession.
Okay.
And like Houston at that point had 33% unemployment.
That's unheard
It
of.
was that bad. So nobody was building log homes. So 80% of our business just disappeared,
Jesus.
like within a couple months.
no, Miles. No.
So
No.
my dad had loans
No.
on the company with the previous owners. They financed it for him.
Oh, so they were carrying the contract.
Yeah, and he couldn't pay the loan, so he basically gave it back to the previous owners, and the first person they fired was me.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
'Cause I
Okay.
was the son of the previous
Right.
owner.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, you get rid of him. So I moved down to Denver. I was just married at the time. I just married my wife.
Okay.
Moved down to Denver. Denver was, their economy was oil driven at the time too, so it was really hard to find a job. I spent 6 months looking for a job.
Wow.
Couldn't find anything. And then my best friend in high school called me up from Toledo. And he's like, hey, we're starting this electronics company. We're just starting to get into the manufacturing. You want to be the manufacturing manager? And I was like, fuck no. I'm not moving back to Ohio. You got to be fucking kidding me.
Did it at that point? Would it have felt like a failure if you had to go back to Ohio?
No,
or
I love Denver. I mean,
Yeah,
the mountains in Ohio is just cornfields
Yeah.
and factories. So it's, no, I'm not moving back there. So he told me what the salary was. It was like twice what I was making.
and you're like, okay, maybe.
I said, I'll be there in 2 weeks.
So,
Sold.
your wife had a job she could leave, or she wasn't working, or
Yeah,
whatever.
at the time, she wasn't career driven. She was just
Okay.
doing whatever to make, to
So-
make money.
So she didn't have to leave something.
She didn't care. Yeah. She left her family, left Denver. Which,
Oh, or her family's from Denver.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So end up back in Ohio.
Back in Ohio.
Toledo.
Yep.
And go to work for that company. And how long was that?
I worked for them for 6 years.
Okay. Manufacturing manager the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what? I'm sorry. You told me, you just said it a minute ago. What was the product?
They made control systems for large air compressors.
Electronics.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And when I'm talking about large air compressors, they're like as big as this room. They're
Industrial,
huge.
like
Industrial.
commercial.
Yeah, Ford, GM, Chrysler,
Okay.
all those big boys.
So that you were overseeing an actual manufacturing plant.
well, it was. I mean, they were starting from scratch. It was a brand new product.
Oh, it was like a startup. Okay.
Right. And no one had ever done. It was a revolutionary product.
Okay.
So previously, they'd have like 5 or 6, these big companies would have 5 or 6 of these compressors right next to each other,
Right.
and they operate the assembly lines. The air runs the assembly lines and the tools and everything that make the cars. So the plant, when they started running out of air, would literally call on the phone and say, hey, we need more air. And some Yahoo would push some buttons and flip some switches and create more air from the compressor systems they had there.
So this was supposed to automate it?
Yeah, what this did is you put a control system on each one, and then you networked them together so they acted as one large air compressor. And it automatically, based on sensors, the pressure, the flow of the air going through the system, would start and stop different parts of these
to
compressors.
keep an even supply of air.
of air, so it's more efficient.
Oh, okay.
You're only running what the compressors that you need. You're not relying on
But then when you need more, it's there.
Pop it, yeah,
And you don't have to call somebody. And
Right.
Oh my gosh,
Right.
that's kind of a
So-
big innovation.
Yeah, it was great. It was cool. And it was, electronic circuit boards. We were soldering components into boards.
Yep,
and
yep.
Wire assemblies and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my God! So
great job.
6 years there.
Yeah, loved that job. They finally had gotten, so we spent 6 years there and being a startup. They had never made money. Every year they were losing money. And the soldering of circuit boards that we did is literally by hand. You're soldering
Right.
each little component, which is really inefficient.
Yes.
So they ended up they decided to farm out their manufacturing process to a big manufacturer who can do it on an assembly line really
Okay.
fast and, quite frankly, better quality than you can do by hand.
Right.
And that made my job obsolete.
Oh, okay.
So after 6 years, they let me go,
Okay.
laid me off. It wasn't because I was shitty.
No,
I
no,
was
it's
actually pretty good at that point.
But your position was just unnecessary now.
Right.
So is that when you found the printing shop?
No, I bounced around to probably 4 or 5 other different companies.
And you have Lee and Kristen by this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So when I got laid off at the electronics company, my wife was pregnant with Lee and it was due any day.
Okay.
So we were in the process of selling our smaller house and buying a bigger house that had enough. This was when she was pregnant with Kristen.
So
it
Lee
the second
Lee
kid.
was already around. You realize you need a
bigger
third
house.
bedroom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was always the plan
Right.
to get to buy another house. And so I had bought the second house and hadn't sold my first house.
Did you want to sell it or try to rent it?
No, I wanted to sell it.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife gave birth to Kristen. I own 2 houses with 2 mortgages, and I get laid off.
This sounds like a movie.
So it was I was absolutely panicked. I called my real estate agent up, and I just said, "You got to sell this fucking house right now, right now." And she did a great job.
Oh my gosh.
She was great. And so I did get out of that, and I got another job fairly quickly, and everything worked out.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was like panicking big time on that one.
So at what point? So now we're into this is 1994 then, because that's when
Somewhere
that's
in
when
there,
Kristen was born.
Yeah.
How
very good. Yeah.
how long did you kind of bounce around until you decided to buy the print? And I've never heard the exact story about how you even knew about this print shop and how you got connected with the guy to buy it from him.
Right. So I worked for probably 3 other companies, and I worked for each of them about 2 years, and would get so frustrated and pissed off with the upper management.
Was it similar positions? You were a business manager.
Yeah,
for these
manufacturing manager of some sort.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you obviously had superiors that you had to answer to.
Right.
So go ahead. You were getting frustrated with them.
And it's just my idea and my style of how to run a company never matched with the people I worked with. And they wouldn't let me do my style, and I wasn't going to do their style. So I'd get frustrated and pissed and move on and try to find a company that would allow me to run. I mean, my dream would have been, you run this the way you want it to, and if we don't like the results, you're fired.
But you felt like they were never willing to give you a chance to
Never
try
gave
it
me
your
that free
way.
rein. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Was it just philosophical differences, or
yeah,
was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How you treat people.
Okay, that's where I was
basically
going.
how you treat
It
people.
wasn't about necessarily the process. It was more about employee relations and how you treat your subordinates and
And how to run a manufacturing company or manufacturing process based on your people.
Oh, you actually want to adjust to the talent you have. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
My theory is that your biggest and best asset in a manufacturing facility is your people.
I think that's true of any business, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I don't, ever work manufacturing, so I understood that.
Right, right.
And you've got people that are putting out your widgets, whatever you're making,
Yeah.
pumping them out, and they know the most about the process than anybody.
Because they're there 40 hours a week, so of course they do.
Right. So the way I looked at it is my job is to listen to the people, the good people, not the assholes. You always got shitheads. That
Yes,
are,
yes.
you listen to the good people, you find out what is difficult about their job, and you try to figure out how to make it better, easier
Yes.
for them to do their
yes.
job. Machines are funny, can be fickle, they can be old, you not have enough maintenance, or you're not getting parts from the guy before you quick enough to do your, there's endless issues you can
Yeah.
have. But you listen to your people because they know what's going on. They
Right.
know better than anybody how to run the machine they're on,
Absolutely.
how to run the process in the plant, and they just
That seems like a no-brainer. Like that seems pretty obvious.
right?
Doesn't
I think
it?
it makes total common sense.
Yes.
But nobody did that I worked with.
Was it an arrogance or
Yeah, it is. It's an arrogance. Yeah.
It's like, the silly hourly line worker couldn't possibly know more than I do. Is that what's
Right.
going on?
And if a process wasn't working, it was the person's fault, not the equipment, not what's happening before it, not
There
what's
can't be
happening
anything
after
wong
it.
with the process.
Yeah,
the
it's-
process
yeah.
must be fine.
Yeah.
It's the
so
employee.
you just beat that guy till he produces more widgets, and it's just so I
That's so counterproductive.
right. So that's what led me to, all right, they won't let me run business the way I want to run it. I need to find out if my way's right or their way's right.
So that's
the
the
only way
impetus.
yeah,
the impetus to
Right. The only way I'm going to be happy, the only way I'm going to resolve my frustration is to have my own business, do it my way. If I fail, then I can go back with my tail between my legs and do it their way. Or if I succeed, I can thumb my nose at them and say, fuck you.
Yeah.
See?
that takes an incredible leap of faith. But you also obviously had strong convictions about this.
Well, I kind of boxed myself into a corner. You know, it's
Probably not on purpose, though.
no, it's just the way it was. Yeah.
Right.
You know, the only way I was going to be happy was to own my own place so I could do it my way because I never found a place that would let me do it my way.
So, how did you meet the guy that owned the print shop?
Right. So I'd been saving money, you know.
I have a feeling you
I'm
obviously
a
been
cheap
saving money since you were 12 years old, thanks to your dad. So,
Right.
so you had some resources.
Yeah. Yeah. And I contacted a business broker and said, hey, I'm looking to buy a small manufacturing company.
Did you gave him the parameters that it has to be a manufacturing company, or
Yeah.
were you open to any business?
No,
like
I
you
wanted
didn't want to own a
manufacturing
coffee
because
shop.
I knew how to run a manufacturing
Okay.
company. Or I thought I did. You know.
Your superiors would
If they would let
disagree.
me, I knew how to run it, right? Yeah. So, he had threw a couple ideas at me, and they didn't click very well. And then there was a print shop that came available in Toledo. And I'm like, well, printing is manufacturing. It's also kind of artistic, and I had a little bit of an artistic slant
Yep.
back then. I could draw and
Yeah.
wood carve and things like that. So yeah, I'll look at it. And I looked at the company. I liked it, yada, yada, yada. But I couldn't come to terms for a price with the owner.
Okay.
Just couldn't reach an agreement on the price.
And are you working this all through your
Business broker.
your broker? So
Right.
you'd never met the guy that
Right.
owned it. Okay.
Right. So, I'm like, so what else you got? He says, well, there's another print shop in Perrysburg, which is the town I grew up in, which is a suburb of Toledo.
Okay.
And that was that perked my the light bulb went off. It's like, that's great because I know all kinds of people in Perrysburg, so I can network my ass off in Perrysburg.
Let me just take a look.
Yep.
Occasionally, this happened once or twice when Kristen was first starting out, that it would just randomly stop. No, we're good. It's still running.
Okay.
I think that was because she left her computer just dormant too long.
Right.
So okay, Perrysburg.
Yeah. So it's Perrysburg. I grew up there. Everybody knew me. It's small town. So I figured, great. I have good connections in Perrysburg. That's even better fit. So I looked at it and yeah, this is cool. And I met the owner and he was a real good guy, straight shooter. And we agreed on a price and I ended up buying it.
And it was so when you say print shop, it was literally making people. Who was your customer base? What was the products they needed?
Well, I printed for other companies.
Okay.
Business cards, letterhead, envelopes,
Okay.
forms, carbonless paper, whatever they needed, brochures.
You could do all that. Big posters.
I didn't do anything bigger than 11 by 17.
Oh, okay.
So, and these are printing presses with ink, and you run the papers through these
Right.
presses.
Okay.
And then we had a front office that had a high-speed black and white copier, a couple self-serve black and white copiers, and a color copier. So we had a lot of walk-in traffic.
Just needing to make copies.
Yeah, anywhere from a little old lady having to make a copy of a receipt because she's getting a rebate to political people would come in and need 10,000 postcards and just walk
geez.
in.
Okay.
Or I need business cards. It was a way to draw traffic in,
Right.
right? And then I bought a real small little UPS shipping company. I basically just bought the equipment and the contacts from them, so that I did UPS shipping as well.
So people could come in and drop off their packages for
Right.
you. So
Yeah. Or we could box them up and
so it kind of so you had the ability to do what like a UPS store does now.
yeah,
But you
Right.
also had the printing shop business going also.
right,
Oh.
right. Yeah. So the
okay.
front was Kinko's basically,
Okay.
and then the back was the commercial printing.
Oh my gosh. Was this in like an industrial area, or was it more like downtown?
Is it a small little strip mall?
Oh, okay.
Retail stuff, restaurants.
And you had
flower
to,
shops and-
did you have to lease the space, or did you own the space?
No, I rented the space out.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you owned the business, obviously.
Right.
What was the learning curve on that like when you decided to buy it from the guy? Because did you have to actually I'm assuming you kept most of his employees.
Yeah, there's only like 3.
Okay.
So yeah,
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
had 2 printing press guys and then a guy that ran the front.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 3. So yeah, I kept them, and I never learned to run a printing press. Printing presses are incredibly complicated to run.
Oh, so even when you sold the business, you still didn't really
I
know how
couldn't
to run
a
it?
printing press to save my soul. No. There's a reason why all the pressmen, the ones who run them, are alcoholics. It is a really difficult job.
Is it
and
really?
All kinds of shit can go wrong, and you're
So you just have to constantly be on task and paying
Right.
attention to everything.
right.
Oh my
So-
God.
But it was basically a pretty old-fashioned run industry.
Right.
Mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
There's 120 printers in the Toledo area. Everybody had their little niches, and nobody really was cutthroat competitive.
Okay.
Everybody kind of stayed in their own little turf
Nice.
and kind of thing. Yeah, the first day I was in there, I was just checking out what everything's going on.
I
and
was going to ask you, the first time you came in as the owner and had to meet the employees, what was that like?
I was nervous about it. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
I'm
like,
sure.
this is my deal. All of a sudden, holy shit.
Yeah.
But they were nice people, good guys. And I was watching what the printing press guy was doing, and I looked at some of the stuff he's doing, and it had a printing flaw on the. It was like almost like a hairline,
I was going to say, like, did a hair get on the roller?
almost like that, where
Yeah.
where there was no ink in that, just a hair
Yes.
hair type. And I just pointed out to him, and I was nice. I says, what causes this, and we'll need to rerun this. And he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. That was Friday, and I get a call. No, I got an email or text from him. No, email. That was back in the email days. From him saying he quit over the weekend.
You're kidding me. That really happened?
Yeah.
Did you have another guy to take his place?
Well, we had 2 pressmen,
Thank God.
so I was down to 1. And I'm thinking over the weekend, it's like, okay, one day, one person quit. In 3 days, I'll have no employees. And the
Oh.
business.
Oh my God.
But this guy, he was looking to get out of the printing business anyway, and he just needed an excuse.
Yeah.
So anyway, the other 2 stuck around, and they did
And
well.
then did the guy you bought it from as part of the sale, did he stick around for like 60 days and kind of
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
train you on what's going on here?
Right, and doing all the paperwork and accounts
Okay.
receivable, and introduced me to the big customers. So it was an
So
easy
he helped you
transition there.
network and say, "Hey, I'm selling it to this guy. Please support him. I
Yeah.
think he's going to do good things with it."
Right, all the employees are staying, and so it should be
Except
an
that
easy
one,
transition.
but
yeah, right. So, and he was a real good guy, and he was just an old-fashioned business guy. As honest as the day is long.
okay.
Straight shooting guy. So
So how long did you have that? But I guess I know that question because you sold it right before you moved out here.
yeah, I owned it for 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I bought another small little shop down in Bowling Green, which was like 20 minutes away.
Okay.
Which did most of their printing was Bowling Green State University.
Okay.
So,
But it was the same type of business.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
So at the end, say the last 5 years, you had both of them,
I had both until 2008 when the recession hit,
and then you cut the other one loose.
and I closed the shop and took the business up to
okay.
my Perrysburg shops to get out of the overhead of renting a
So
place and
let's
equipment.
say the last 5 years before you decided to retire, were you still putting in 40, 50 hours a week?
I worked 40, 45 hours a week.
Did you ever hire like a manager to run it, or was that you?
That was me, although I had a woman who worked for me for 13 years who was basically my number 2.
Okay.
And she was great. She was absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
So I could leave when I needed to, and
Because if she could do everything that needed to be done, if you had to take a vacation or something.
enough for like a week or
Okay.
a week that she could manage everything. And there were certain things she didn't do, but
Right. Right.
you know, those
but
things I could punt on until I got back.
okay.
So, so yeah, when I was working for other people, I was working 60, 65 hours a week.
So you actually worked less when you bought a business?
Right.
Doesn't normally work that way.
Right.
That is funny.
Well, as part of my manufacturing strategy with people, I hired great people.
Yeah.
I don't luck, probably a little bit of luck, maybe a little bit of just understanding, and I treated my people really well.
So I guess we came full circle that your theories on how to run a business worked.
Well, it wasn't really successful profit-wise. I didn't get rich from it.
Well, but you made a living and you have a retirement and you're doing just fine now.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it from the Gordon Gekko lens, you're not a millionaire,
Right.
but
Right.
I don't know if they have studies about that where you reach a certain level of income, and even if you go past that, your happiness level doesn't go up.
Right.
You probably heard that.
Yeah. Right. And I didn't need to run a great big company. That really wasn't, as I got more and more into this, it just wasn't my goal to do that.
Yeah.
So, and from 2008 to 15, I think is when I sold it, we really struggled financially. We never recovered from
But you were able to make
recession.
payroll
yeah.
and
making
able to
payroll and,
pay yourself a modest salary and put some money in retirement and,
right, get
and
my
all
kids
that.
through college.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
And then, okay, so Lee went to the same. Lee and Kristen both went to the same high school you did.
yes.
And then, what school did Lee go to?
Lee went to Bucknell University, which is in Pennsylvania.
Okay,
That was when I was looking. looked at Bucknell,
right. I remember that.
and that was
yeah.
my first choice. And I got waitlisted. I didn't get in,
Oh, okay.
so he rubs that in my nose.
Oh, Lee would never do that.
Yeah. So it's funny that he ended up going to the school that I wanted to go to. So
So he went to Bucknell for all 4 years.
yeah,
And then where'd Kristen go?
Kristen went to University of Miami, where my parents went.
Of Ohio.
Of Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
All 4 years.
All 4 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to put the years together now. They were both out of college and in the working world by the time you sold the business, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Kristen had already moved to Denver, and Lee was in upstate New York.
And the Denver impetus, was that because of her mom? Is that why she ended up in Denver?
No. So she graduated, and she was trying to think where she was going to move out of Ohio too. It just wasn't her thing.
Well, I mean, and you wanted to do the same thing at that age.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So we were, she didn't know where she wanted to move, and she was kind of hemming and hawing. And my dad had passed away, and we had a family get together down in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, to spread his ashes.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in my family, my brothers and all their kids, and everybody came. And to fly back, we all flew from Durango to Denver. And
I
then
know
we're
where
gonna-
Durango's at, yeah.
And then we're going to get our connecting flights to go off wherever we were going. And Chris and I were sitting in downtown Denver in a coffee shop watching the dynamics of Denver,
Right.
big city life.
Yep.
And she's like, Dad, I think this is where I want to live. And so that's how
She was
ended
just
up
kind of inspired by it.
Yeah, she just really liked the vibe of Denver. And
I'm assuming she'd been there before with her mom's family being
yeah,
from
we
there?
used to go every other year. We would drive to Denver.
So she'd been there before.
Yeah.
But then there was something about that moment where she's literally experiencing it in a calm moment and just kind of looking around going, I could do this.
Yeah, right. So she knew Colorado really well
Okay.
from a kid's perspective.
Right. But now she was seeing it from an adult perspective.
So that's
Okay.
So she kind of followed my same path.
Yeah. To put a pencil mark on a map.
Right.
Although she actually had the benefit of being there.
Yeah.
and
then
then-
she loves it. It's a perfect place for her.
Yeah, I love the Colorado from Denver west. I love. Once you start going east of that, it
Yeah.
kind of just becomes too like Midwest. It's all flat and just fields and
Prairie.
prairie. Right. There's nothing necessarily aesthetically pleasing about
Yeah,
it.
boring.
And
hot,
at that
dry.
time, Lee was still on the East Coast.
Right.
Because I remember you were living here when you had to go back and move him out.
Yeah.
So what was he doing there after college?
So Lee got a job. He's a mechanical engineer. He got a job with Emerson Electric, which is like a $21 billion huge company.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Right. Designing control systems for gas turbines.
Software systems.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And but he had always wanted to move to San Diego. For some reason, he had a wild right up his ass.
Right.
Never been there, but I want to live in San Diego. It's 72 all year round. I love it.
Sunny and 75.
Right. So the idea was he was going to quit his job at some point. And he toyed with trying to find a job before he left, but he didn't really have a whole lot of motivation to do that.
Okay.
And then he was going to move out here with me.
Which he did.
Yeah. And try to look for a job out here.
He was going to give the Northwest a chance, it sounds like.
Right.
Okay.
Or, it's a hop skip down to San Diego. Or,
Right.
So he told his company that he was going to quit his job and move out west. And they said, well, you can do your job from home. All you need is a computer.
That's hard to turn down.
Right. So he kept his job,
Nice.
moved out here in December. It was hard to convince him to live. It literally rained every day for 2 weeks.
I know. It's the worst time of year to move out here.
Right, right. So he's like, I'm not living in this fucking place. It rains all the time. So he looked for apartments and then moved down to San Diego.
And he's still working for Emerson?
Yeah, same company. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Doing very well.
Yeah.
And so quickly, I don't want to go too much longer because we both have to work. We're over an hour now. But I do, because this is the best story ever about how when you sold a business and you were like, you had how did you even think about Portland, Vancouver area? What when you want to move somewhere?
Right.
I think you had a friend out here.
Well, yeah, the idea was I was going to leave Ohio at some point.
Right. You were like, okay, I'm done. I've done my career. I've retired. I'm financially secure. I just want to get out of this area.
So I've always loved the mountains. Mm-hmm. Even as a kid, my dad took me on trips and west, and I always loved the mountains. And even, college was, they call them mountains, but they're
hills.
Foothills.
They're hills, yeah.
Right. And so I was thinking about it, and it's like, well, the only thing I really don't like about Colorado is everything's dry, the semi-arid climate. So where do they have mountains and it's wet?
That's easy.
Yeah, the number one choice is here.
Yeah.
My backup was like West Virginia area.
Right.
They don't have mountains, but they've got their hillbilly hills, and it's wetter.
It is, definitely.
Right. And so I have a real good high school buddy who lives in Portland. He's on my soccer team, and we've stayed in touch.
So, okay, pause right there.
Yep.
How long has he been out here?
He's been here 20-some years.
Did he come out for a job or for school? For a job, and he just liked it and stayed?
Yep.
Okay, what's his name?
Bill Good.
All right, and he still lives in the Portland area?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yep. I see him every once in a while.
Okay, so you had this high school friend.
So and him there, and then my high school girlfriend, who I'd stayed in touch with, lived in Seattle.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever heard that before. Okay.
Yeah. We went out for 2.5 years in high school.
Yeah. But you were still in contact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I came out, I visited both people, saw both
So you just made a trip out to visit?
Yeah.
Okay.
To see the area, because I've never been here.
God, yeah. What was that? So Denver, was that the farthest west you'd ever been?
No, I've been to...
or California, maybe? But
yeah, I've been on the California coast.
But you'd never been to Oregon?
Right. Never been to Oregon, never been to Washington.
So it was completely new?
Right.
How long did you plan to spend out here just on that visit? Like a week or two? Or
I was here, I think, 2 weeks.
Okay. And stayed a little bit of time with each of them or something?
Right. And I liked Portland better than Seattle. I'm not a big city guy. And Portland seemed more manageable.
It is definitely... Seattle itself isn't necessarily that much bigger than Portland, but there's so many cities around it that makes the whole area so much fucking bigger.
The downtown area feels like the big city.
Yes.
Portland is like a big, small city.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. So I decided I wanted the Portland area. And then I came out again and looked at different areas around Portland.
Yeah, you were considering Oregon City.
Yeah, Oregon City was my first choice. And I just blown through Vancouver, and it's like, nah, this is nothing. Didn't impress me.
Keep going with this story because I know how you ended up in Vancouver.
Right. So I had chosen Oregon City as my first choice, and I kind of liked the Milwaukee area.
And you'd obviously spent time in Oregon City, but you said you blew through Vancouver, but you
Right.
hadn't spent time here.
Yeah, just kind of did a drive through, and it's like, nah, this is nothing special.
We might edit that out.
So, well, I've changed my mind obviously now. So I love Vancouver now.
You obviously did because you bought a house here.
Yeah. So then I came back a third time and was going to nail down the lease for a place to rent and pay the down payment and then go back, pack up, and as quick as I could and get back out here. So there was virtually nothing in Oregon City that was in my price range.
Okay.
So I blew that off. I found a real shithole in Milwaukee.
No. I have to use the dad voice now. No. Sorry, go
So I
ahead.
found a really shitty place in Milwaukee that, if I had to, I could have done.
And was it like Milwaukee proper or off of the bypass that connects 205 to
No,
Milwaukee?
it was Milwaukee proper.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
And then my buddy Bill Good in Portland, I wasn't staying with him, but I'd keep in touch with him, and he was suggesting places for me to look.
Okay.
He says, well, why don't you check out Vancouver? I said, I kind of looked at that. And, okay, I'll go do it again, and I'll look again. And so I actually drove through downtown and thought, well, yeah, this is kind of cool.
Okay.
This is kind of nice. And he said, you pay no income tax in Washington.
Oh.
And if you go right across the river to Oregon, you
There's
pay no sales
no
tax.
sales tax.
Being an economics dude, it's like, bing,
Oh,
bing, bing. lights
Because
go
I'm
off.
assuming Ohio has a sales tax
Yeah.
and a state income tax.
And, state, well, yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they do. They have
Okay.
a state income tax.
Okay.
And property tax.
All
They
right.
do all three. So I thought, well, that's awesome. So then I started looking real hard here, and I found a place that I ended up renting on Evergreen by Harney.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. You had Guinness then.
Yeah. Right.
So okay, I was leading you to this story about. Was it your friend Bill Good that got you the gift card to Mavs or to Old Ivy?
No, this is a friend back in Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, he was one of my best friends. Just as a going away present. He tried.
How did he pick Old Ivy though?
Well, he tried to find a place that would do a gift card. He's like 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So he's even less.
It wasn't like
computer
he
inclined than I am.
couldn't get online and do it. He was
Right.
trying to can I just give you my credit card number and give him a gift card
Right.
kind of a thing.
And so he called me up and just said, I'm trying to find a bar that I can get a gift card for you, but I can't figure it out. And so I just said, well, try Old Ivy. I just
Had you already been there by
No,
then?
but I just looked on map. That
You
Old Ivy
Googled
building.
it?
Yeah.
And
I
Old-
Googled bars. Bars
and
near
something
me or
about Old
whatever.
Ivy appealed to you, and you said, "Well, get me one for that
Never
place."
been there.
But you picked that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kinda
Something caught your eye,
cool,
about,
yeah.
or was it just the first
It was
one on
close
the list?
proximity wise. It was
Oh,
close.
that's right.
It was easy. It was downtown, which was kind of nice. So he called up and arranged for the gift card.
Did he actually have to just over the phone call and ask Dave?
Yeah, or whoever answered the.
It was and say they said yes, I can just give me your credit card number and I'll do it. Is that
Yeah.
how it?
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's
Right.
so funny.
So, and that's how I met your wife.
Yeah, because tell that story. We're not getting out of here without.
Oh, yeah.
Because how many times did you have to go in there and you couldn't get the
Three-
gift card?
3 times. The third time I finally got it.
So, back before it was Mavs, when it was Old Ivy, Pam was bartending there, and Craig would come in. But so the owner Dave would lock the gift cards up, I think, in the safe, and Pam didn't have access to it.
That's what she says. Yeah.
You
I
know,
think-
she.
I think it was
stop
a ploy
it.
to get me to keep
No,
coming
it
in.
was not a ploy, but that's a great story. So the first 2 times he came in, she's like, "Gosh, I'm sorry, Dave is gone, and it's in the safe, and I don't have the combination." So he had to come back a third time, and magically, the third time you got it, did Dave just remember to leave it out, or was he there?
He wasn't there. No, Pam gave it to me.
So he must have just left it out.
Yeah.
So after 2 times, I think Pam was like, Dave, this guy is going to come back. You need to give him his card.
Yeah, just leave the card out and I'll get it to him.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, my
So
God.
that's how that
that
worked.
cracks me up.
So, yeah.
So do you remember, like, the time of day, the first time you went into Old Ivy?
Oh, it was probably
Afternoon?
5-ish, 6-ish,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Was it busy?
No.
Just
No.
was Pam the only person at the bar?
Yeah, there's probably 2 or 3.
Okay.
Stu was probably there. I didn't know him then, but he was probably there.
Shout out to
in
Stu.
the corner with Jack.
Yeah, shout out to Stu. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
So that was the first. So you had picked this off of an internet search, I guess. And
Right.
what was your first impression of Old Ivy when you walked in?
Well, you had great beer.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
All right.
And I liked that it wasn't crowded.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just a quiet place. You can sit and have a beer. And, every time I went in there, I ended up talking to someone for, an hour or two.
Yeah.
The people were very friendly. So,
Or you ended up getting into arguments with people.
Yeah,
so.
that too. It's my hobby.
So, remind me, was it 2018 that you moved out here? Is that right? Or
Yeah, 18.
2018, right?
Yeah.
So we're going on 5 years now.
Yep.
You bought a house, so I'm assuming you're settled.
Yeah. I'll never live anywhere else.
I mean,
They'll cart my body out.
I kind of what you were looking for. You wanted to be close to mountains, but not in a place that's so hot and so dry and all that.
Yeah, I wanted a milder winter, milder summer.
We used to have milder winters, and all of a sudden now we're getting snow a little bit.
Trust
No,
me,
no,
this is nothing.
compared to Ohio, it's nothing. I
Yeah.
know.
It's nothing. So, and your summers the summers have gotten hotter. So I don't know that I got to have milder summers anymore.
Yeah, just recently in the last few years they've
Right.
got. But even when we have the hot spells, it's like a couple of weeks at the most.
Yeah. I mean, there's such an unusual, different. I don't know. I don't like using the word vibe, but really it is a vibe.
Energy.
Here, energy, culture.
So this is what I was trying to get you to talk about is what is your impression, having been here for 5 years, of this area? And it's not bad or good. I'm just curious about the difference from you were in Denver, grew up in Ohio. What are you noticing about that? Because you have perspective because you've been in different places. So I was just curious of your impression now, having been here for 5 years.
I absolutely love it. I mean, for starters, this is my idea of paradise. I couldn't think of any other place even that I would consider. I just love everything about it. But the thing that I really enjoy, I mean, I love the mountains. The coast is extraordinary, which is an added bonus.
Yeah, and you have the mountains an hour and the coast an hour and a half, and yeah.
Right. But the cultural diversity here is so wide, and I mean ethnically, gender preference, sexual orientation,
political beliefs, everything,
lifestyles, different countries. People are,
And is that completely different than what you're used to?
Yeah, Ohio. Everybody is. It's a really narrow broad band of conformity that people live in. You're either a farm boy, and so you got the John Deere cap, and you're chewing tobacco, and you don't worry about school, or you're a manufacturing guy, so you're a manufacturing rat. It's a much narrower opinions, dress codes, lifestyles. Everybody does the same.
Was it even that way when you left in 2018?
Yeah. It has always been that way. Growing up there, it's just like, okay. And like when I moved to Denver, Denver was wider than Ohio, but not nearly as wide as here.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
So, well, Denver's mostly white.
Oh,
And
okay.
It has a black community and it has a Latino community.
Okay.
So that's why it's a little broader.
But it's still pretty close to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Is kind of what you're saying.
And ranchers are basically farmers, just a little different, but it's the same kind of mentality. Everybody's extremely well educated there in Denver. most people are, like I said, are white. I mean, all my friends had gone to school on the East Coast and moved to Denver, and that's kind of where, was my path. But, like gays back then, you were still in the don't ask, don't tell.
Right.
There was no they thems and none of which I like that. I like that diversity of they thems and any whatever,
I mean, whatever makes them comfortable.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to be ashamed of it.
and it makes people so much more interesting
Yeah.
to talk to and to find out what they're all about and how they got to where they are.
All right,
and,
then let's talk about this. Born and raised there, why are you so open-minded compared to the people that you grew up around? It's not a test. I'm just curious.
So in high school, my dad was very conservative. My mom was pretty old-fashioned, although she voted Democrat, which Democrat then doesn't mean the same
It's
as
not
Democrat
even the same
now,
thing.
and
Yes.
Republican then doesn't
It's
mean
not- yes.
Republican now.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad was a very strict, old-fashioned, guy. But I had very liberal friends in my school. I had a great class of high school friends. I'm still best buddies with
Do you
a bunch.
Okay,
of
so do you think it made a difference that you went to that private school where you were surrounded and got to meet people that maybe weren't just were more open-minded? If you had gone to public school, for instance,
right?
do you think you would have came out different?
I don't know because every class is a little bit different. My son had a great class of kids. My daughter's class was not so great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even at the private school?
Right. And I just fell in with a class that had really extraordinary people for me.
Okay, and you said your dad was conservative, your mom
Right.
old-fashioned, but obviously you're neither of those.
So my high school years, I call it the great liberalization of Craig. My friends worked on me for 4 years to loosen me up and
They
you know,
almost like
become-
took it up upon themselves as like a mission to.
yeah, it's their task.
Serious?
Yeah,
that
I
would
think
you
so.
you met those friend groups.
Yeah.
That's actually really
Yeah.
cool.
And it was great. It's like, hey, listen to this music and hey, drink this beer and hey,
Okay.
smoke this joint, and
Yeah,
it just,
yeah.
And it wasn't like, let's see if we can get this conservative boy stupid drunk. It was they took care of me while they were
No,
doing
they
this.
were
It
just
was out of
trying-
kindness and caring.
They were trying to expand your mind.
yes, loosen me up.
Okay.
right? And they did a good job. And then in college it continued. No parental influence. And I had a great group of guys in college, and I saw my high school friends all the time. They all went to school out east. So like once a term, all my high school, we'd meet like 5 or 6 of us. We'd meet at someone else's school,
Right.
raise hell, and then come back hungover as hell. And
Burn the buildings down and then go
yeah,
go back
make
home
fools of
before they
ourselves.
caught you.
Yeah, everybody could have a good laugh at our expense, and yeah. And then at college I experimented around more with certain illegal substances.
Well, okay, we already which most of them are probably legal now, at least in Oregon. But yeah,
one of them is. But I tried a lot of different things.
yeah, which is fine. I mean,
Yeah. Right. Never got hooked on any, fortunately.
yeah,
And so that increased my
that broadened your
liberal-
horizons.
right.
Yes.
right. So,
Wow.
and I think that's why I got to that.
So after this
How-
entire life experience that you went through, there's no way you could have predicted it, but it's almost you almost landed in the perfect place for you,
Right. Right.
and there's no way you could have known that back then.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of odd. I mean, I've had the shit hit the fan a lot in my life in different things, but I always seem to end up in the right spot,
Right.
which I have again here.
Which is funny. Wow, that just made me think of something. I've had maybe we'll do it on another podcast sometime. Although I don't know how much I want to share that on a podcast. We might just have to have a beer and I'll tell you.
There
But
you go.
through my life, I could say the same thing. I have had so many ups and downs, so many moments of where the shit hit the fan, and I should not have made it through, and something got me through.
Yeah.
And a new door opened. Somebody, a good friend or family member, helped me out and got me to the next step, or somebody came into my life at the right moment at the right time. Yeah, I can totally understand that. Because I definitely, there's several moments in my life where I could have ended up a homeless person living on the streets in Portland.
Right.
And it just didn't happen. Now, always had, I mean, obviously we have our family struggles, but I always had good friends and good family to support me. I was never left alone, which that's a blessing, thank God.
Yeah, I don't credit myself for always ending up in the right place. It's not something I did.
That's what I meant. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to say
I
is
just fall into it.
is thank goodness.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah, good friends, good family.
I almost
Yeah.
want to. No, that's going to simplify it too much too. If you're a good person, I feel like you attract good people around you. But it's
Yeah, I think
probably
so.
not always true. I mean, there's got to be exceptions to every rule. I guarantee there are some people living in a tent on the streets in Portland right now that are good people, but for whatever reason they just didn't have the support system around them.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't want to oversimplify it. Yeah. So that's all. We are glad you're here, Craig.
Glad to be here.
You have
Glad to know you guys.
you have provided me with endless hours of annoyance
Head scratching moments.
and head scratching moments. And when I had to yell at you because you were yelling at the college student girl at Trusty,
Yeah. Who deserved it, by the way.
who didn't understand basic economics because she was asleep at 8 a.m. No, but you're friggin' amazing. And I'm super glad I met you. And we have lots of years ahead of us, much to your chagrin. But yes, you're going to have to put up with me for quite a while.
Well, you know-
shout out to Kristen and Lee.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll probably be able to see this podcast, but we're going to keep it on the down low for a little bit. I'm going to make a copy and give it to your dad so he can make whatever edits he wants.
There you go.
But I don't think there's anything we have to edit out of this.
So, just saying, I guess in closing.
Yes, yes,
with
please.
the idea of I always fall into the right places. Old Ivy I fell into the right place.
Yeah.
You know, and there Pam was. So,
Yes.
you know, I'm thankful for that. And that's not my fault. They just stumbled into it. And
No, it's just you appreciate what happens.
yeah.
Just be appreciative of it.
And, yeah,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys.
Cheers, man. I do too.
I've become part
Thank
of
you.
your family, and I like that.
And
brought
yes,
me
you
in-
are
brought me
family. Oh
in.
my God.
So,
And
whether you like it or not.
Well, for God's sakes, you helped my Kristen move into her friggin' apartment, dude. You're
that's-
Uncle Craig to her.
That's nothing. Yeah, that's just a little sweat and
No, that was
sore muscles.
annoying. It was like you had to get 3 flights up. You had to be on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
All right.